Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the final day of the show. We hope so far you've been enjoying every session, getting a lot of information out, and more importantly, making connections and helping to build the community. Since we're all about building community, we're starting this panel this morning talking about all kinds of ways to improve the lives of those living with Duchenne and Becker muscular dystrophy, especially through adaptive sports, remodeling your home, adaptive video games, and making physical therapy fun. So even though this panel is called The Little Things That Matter, we're kind of going to touch upon a few subjects that will help everyone in the room. And I want to mention that everybody will be here also to take questions a little later on. So if we seem to be rushing through the slides, it's only because we have a lot of information we'd like to give you. For those of you that were not in the room yesterday, I'm Moeschen, and I'm going to moderate the panel this morning. I want to just briefly announce to you that on the tables this morning, you'll see that the PPMD annual report is out in the red books. They are yours. Take one home, circulate to everybody. A reminder, but you know, tonight's the big party at 6:30. We're going to be mentioning that all day. And as always, we have tons of breakout stuff and an extremely robust program for you this morning. So, what are we going to talk about? It's on the slide. All this stuff. All right, next. I want to briefly introduce the panel who's sitting out of order because that's how we roll. So I'll have them wave at you. So Karla, hello. Karla's going to talk to you a little bit this morning about adaptive sports, and I will let the members introduce themselves so that I don't screw up anyone's bio. Randy, home remodeling. This guy's a master carpenter. Rumor has it that if you watch Game of Thrones, he built all the sets by himself with hand tools. Steve Teal, our buddy from Georgia, although we don't hold that against him. He's very much into adaptive gaming. He enjoys long walks on the beach, and he's a Scorpio and slow dancing, and he's a lot of fun to be with. I guess I am introducing the panel. We got to have a little laughs this early in the morning, right? And then Megan Iammarino, who is going to talk about PT being fun. Megan is excellent at not answering emails or meeting deadlines. We love her. I'm just kidding. Not true at all. Megan's going to fire me. Do you see these daggers I'm getting over? It's like my wife's on the stage. All right, next slide. I am a drummer. All right. Karla, I think we'll turn it over to you. And all you got to do is say next slide, and the magic will happen.
Okay, next slide, please.
Can you just tell us a little bit about your connection to Duchenne and who you are?
Sure. I'm going to stand because I can't talk and sit. Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Karla Kramer. My beautiful family's over here. My son, Lucas, who I'm going to embarrass, he's 19, and he's the star of this slide. Anyway, we're from the DC area, and Lucas was diagnosed at age 4.5. Fun fact, my husband and I met in the rock climbing gym, so we're very active. We were hikers, we mountain biked, and we had Lucas, and we were imagining this life we were going to have of traveling the world and hiking and climbing, and, well, then we got the diagnosis. So, okay, well, what do you do with that? You know, so this brought us into the world of scuba diving that Dave and I had touched on before we were even married. We became open water divers, but then we didn't dive again for years and years, and then lo and behold, we got introduced to adaptive scuba through some friends in our area, and then we went to Key Largo every year to dive. And so this is the adventure that we found as a family. That includes Lucas, and it is a freaking blast. We travel all over. Lucas is a big foodie too, so we do a lot of that. But anyway, I wanted to share a little bit about our story. So the adaptive scuba came about because there's a camp in South Florida run out of Key Largo. It's called Barrier-Free Diving. I've got cards, and you can come up to me later. I've got some business cards. We had dinner with them last night, actually. One of the co-founders lives here. But it's a kids camp. And so they help fund families to do this camp. It's called Camp Open Seas. And I think you have to be 12 to actually become certified as a diver. Is that right, Dave? 12 or 14, somewhere in there. But you can start diving with others as an adaptive diver as a child and then become certified somewhere in that age range. But it just opens up this whole world of possibilities, and we were just so excited to get to share this with Lucas. And so we went to that camp for about 4 years, and then he graduated out or aged out of that camp at age 17. And the goal was then, okay, let's go on these adventures as a family. So these pictures you're seeing on this slide are all from Cozumel. Actually, the one in the middle, top middle, might be the Cayman Islands. But Dave, my husband, who's sitting over here, he actually took all the courses to become an adaptive dive buddy. So you have to have a lot of advanced training, including empathy training, where you have to simulate being disabled in order to become an adaptive buddy. So that was pretty cool. So he did that with an organization called Adaptable Scuba Foundation that's based out of Dallas. These organizations are all over the place, folks. I mean, there's lots of these organizations because if you think about veterans, they've been adaptive diving for like 40, 45 years. So if you go to resorts now all over the world, most of them have adaptive dive buddies that you can hire even. I mean, it's out there and it's awesome. So I just wanted to really share that story with you all about how our family has kind of found the fun in this diagnosis, which, you know, there's a lot of science and there's all the trials and all that, and it's like, yeah, but where's the fun? Well, we bring the fun by taking these awesome trips. So that's a little bit about that. So let me go to the next slide. So one more, since we're on the theme of adaptive sports, I am not an expert in many of these, but we have people in the room and part of this community that are experts in a lot of cool adaptive activities. Last year I met Hunter Hawthorne, who's pictured at top right. I met him and his mom, Laura, at the conference in Dallas, and they were telling me all about power wheelchair soccer. I had no idea. So cool. And she also told me, his mom said that it's mostly Duchenne guys that are doing this. So, and it's competitive. And I thought, you know what? You can do competitive sports. I just met Amy Green over here. Amy, where are you? Somewhere out here, okay. But she runs a Volt, it's called Volt, yeah. It's Volt Hockey, Volt Hockey League that she started in, up in Boston, that's right. And then I met somebody here, Tommy, who does sled hockey. Yeah, and I was like, this is so cool. And these are all competitive sports. So you can do a lot of cool individual sports, or you can do competitive sports. So some other fun things we've done is adaptive skiing is also everywhere. This stuff is just, you go to all these resorts, and you can go adaptive skiing, right? So we've been able to take advantage of that. As well. And then also the far right was just kind of a fun thing we did in Idaho. We went paragliding, gliding. Thank you. I always get those confused. I'm looking at my husband over here. Paragliding off the top of Mount Baldy. And so Lucas went tandem paragliding, and that was a little too much fun for him because they started spinning around doing loops, and he was like, whoa, no. But it was super fun. The one thing I want to leave with you all today is that there are all these resources on the PPMD website. It was a little hard for me to find, to navigate to, so that's why I wanted to tell you where they are. So Resource Center, which is under Daily Living Resources. There's a category for travel and recreation, and it's under that category. I'm trying to get somebody, I've talked to Pat about maybe adding an adaptive sports part to that, because to me, recreation is recreation, but if you're playing competitive sports, that's not really recreation. That's competition, right?
Yep, sure.
So that's just a little bit about my spiel, and I'll be here all week, 2 more days, so come up to me and my family. I've got pamphlets and more information and would love to connect you with adaptive scuba.
Awesome. Thank you, Karla. And I think the thread that you're going to find running through this entire panel is, again, it's about connection and building community, right? So there's tons of adaptive sports options out there. They might not be right in your face, but if you know where to look, there's a lot of things you can find. And as you said, competitive sport, if that's your thing, or the scuba diving. I know up in Boston, we also have a big adaptive sailing program where they take you out in the Boston Harbor. We're also referred to as Titletown because we have more sports championships than everybody else, but we'll leave that alone.
Boston!
Thank you. No booing. But so, and the other thing too, you know, we are aware that the PPMD website is dense, to say the least. So if you're ever looking for this and you say, I don't remember where the links are, just email us. We're happy to put you in touch with the links, or better yet, the person, because everybody up here on this stage too is happy to connect with you about some adaptive sports. Okay, so next slide, please. All right, it's time for Mr. Randy. Are you also standing, or are you going to take a little rest this morning?
I'll take a little rest this morning.
Love it. So I just want to say, I only met Randy in person recently, but we've been chatting throughout the spring about this, all the home remodeling, and you know, I thought, oh, home remodeling, yeah, I had to do it too. But then he sent me some pictures, and I was like, man, if you lived close to me, you would be at my house like every week, because my wife would be like, I need this, 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 and this. So take it away, sir.
So good morning. My son Garrett he'll be 18 in a couple of weeks, and so he was diagnosed at 3.5. And so at the time when he was diagnosed, we were living in a 100-year-old house in Tennessee. I had lots of connections and construction, and so I was decided, hey, this house isn't going to work. There were like 7 steps at every entry, and so when we decided to move, we were able to find a house and make some modifications before it was construction was finished. And so we lived there for a while, and then we moved to a completely new market, into an older house. I had 0 connections. So even though I've been in construction for a long time, I'm actually a horrible carpenter, but I'm really good at demo. So, you know.
Well, that's the fun part, right?
It is the fun part.
Wrecking stuff is like why you get into the business.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've learned a lot of, obviously there's a ton of resources whenever I was asked to do this on PPMD's website. You know, there's checklists, there's all types of hyperlinks. So I was like, man, what am I going to talk about? It's all right here. But so go there as a starting point for your checklist. And what I wanted to kind of focus on was, you know, whenever I look out of space or walk into something, what has worked for us and what do I, you know, kind of look for? And so, you know, obviously walking into a house, the access is number one, but also, you know, a lot of people don't consider what's the access for future modifications, right? So do you have a crawl space that you can get under, or somebody else can get under a basement? You know, what does the attic look like? Is it a flat roof, no access? So, you know, obviously if there's easy access, then that makes it easy for those doing the work, which, you know, hopefully would bring the cost down a little bit more, as opposed to, you know, if they have to break up concrete or whatever else to do the modifications, then that's where the costs come in. So just consider the access for future modifications. You know, and then some of the things that have helped us through the years in the multiple houses, you know, just the shower. We have a shower chair that serves as a toilet chair, and so we're able to do one transfer in the morning. It rolls from its bed into the bathroom. We're able to do the morning routine, and it's just super helpful to minimize the transfers, you know, once you get to that point. When you think about ramps and lifts, you know, with ramps, you know, one of our houses, we had to build a on-site ramp, and I got to build it twice because, you know, I didn't follow the guidelines, the ADA guidelines. I thought, well, I know better. And so he was in a scooter at that time, and long story short, he went to a power chair, and guess what? It couldn't make the turn. So I got to go back and rebuild it. But so anyways, with ramps, their site built was also, you know, if you have a, you know, 4-inch or 6-inch lip at different doors, you can go to Amazon. They have the metal ramps that are super convenient and easy. So, access to structural components, kind of touched on that. When you kind of get into the lifts and all, you have ceiling mounted lifts, you have wall mounting lifts, and then also you have the lifts that roll. So ceiling mounting lifts, somebody's gonna have to get up in the attic and do some extra support bracing across there. So just consider that. We moved to Florida, and it was not a fun experience for me to do that, but up north, the attics are a lot larger and you can walk in and it makes it easier. When you think about wall-mounted lifts, those are pretty straightforward in general. You might have to put some blocking behind the drywall. And then the rolling lifts, obviously if it's on carpet, it just is super challenging. So that's around that. We already talked about access to structural components. Then, one thing that a lot of people don't consider is the thresholds on exterior doors. Depending on what part of the country you're in, you may have a 3-inch threshold, you may have an inch, and that could be a really big bump, going over. So just consider that in the doors, and obviously they make doors with more flush thresholds. You can go to the next slide. So this is just some of the bathroom modifications that we did. We like pocket doors for an inside door. Yes, we were able to kind of make you have Jack and Jill setups where you have a bedroom, bathroom, then another bedroom. And typically, with a pocket door, it doesn't take up any space. You kind of form your own little suite. So you can close everybody off to the house, and it really works well for us. The other thing is, we didn't do glass, we did like curved shower rods. So in order to make just a little bit extra space in that shower for the caregiver, those work out well. Obviously handheld fixtures. Sometimes when you get into hotels and whatnot, you have the slide bar and you have all those things. And when you start looking at those plumbing fixtures, those get really expensive. But there's also, much cheaper alternatives where you can still have the shower head that spits water, and then you can also have a handheld that spits water at the same time. So there's cheaper options out there when you get into that. One of the best things we found living in Tennessee was they had a combo heater bathroom light. So you had a heater in the shower and that served as the light and the fan. And so that was really nice on the cold mornings to keep people warm. And then lastly, there's a lot of motion sensor items, whether lights, plumbing fixtures, and then Bluetooth plugs. Those, we love the Bluetooth plugs. It's super nice. We have little small Christmas trees throughout the house, and for Garrett to be able to hit a couple of buttons and turn on different lights in the house or turn off his Christmas tree, those are all just fun things. So, and then if you do your research, you can just look online. There's a lot of things that won't make your house look so institutional, and you can kind of make it more of a home. So if you look at the toilet paper holder there, that's actually a grab bar. And the same thing on the picture on the right, I call it a shower caddy, but the little thing on the far wall, mid-range up, holds your shampoo and whatnot, that's also a pull bar. So, just things like that kind of go with the design that is out there and options for you. So, and then regarding flooring, obviously I said carpet, typically over time you'll get ruts, and so I don't recommend carpet, but we've had hardwood, tile, vinyl laminate, and really haven't had any issues with any of that. So,
yeah, we in the power wheelchairs enjoy hard flooring. Throw rugs are not fun either.
Yeah, no, they're not.
Fun for you to see us struggle, but not fun for the rest of us. So again, this is an awful lot of information coming at you in a short time and early in the morning. Just know that these people are also here to connect with you, because this might be something that's way down the road for you. Please don't get overwhelmed. With this journey with Duchenne and Becker, we all take things one step at a time. So don't think about, well, in 15 years, I might need to put an elevator. Take it slow. People have been where you are going, and we're happy to help. So we can definitely call on Randy to do all your carpentry needs. Have you thought about taking your company national, sir?
I have not. So
We'll
sorry.
talk. Okay, next slide, I think. Thank you, sir. Okay, my buddy Steve sitting here to my right. I'll let him introduce himself a little bit more. But Steve is also into adaptive gaming, and he's going to talk a little bit about that. I wanted to mention too, this is a good time to mention that this panel is not just going to be the people on the stage. We're going to leave a lot of time because we want to have you share some ideas. I'm sure many of you sitting out there are thinking, oh, I could be up there and talk about, please. In a little while, we'll open the microphones. We'd love to hear from you about different things that you've done to help you live your best life. And I know gaming is a huge thing in the world, especially with a lot of the guys. So you may have something that Steve didn't mention. Love to have a forum on that. We could probably do a whole session on that at some point, in
Absolutely.
Las Vegas.
Absolutely.
I'm not excited about that location at all.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah, my wife will not be joining me. Okay, Steve.
All right, so as Pat mentioned, my name is Stephen Teal. I'm 32. I was diagnosed with Becker muscular dystrophy when I was 10 years old back in 2001. So, I'm married. I have 3 kids. Been married for 10 years, and our oldest daughter turns 10 on Sunday, which is crazy. But yeah, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about adaptive gaming. Is that something that I really love doing is gaming. It's a good way to, spend some time and get your mind off some things and stuff. So the first thing I was going to touch on is it promotes inclusivity, which is very important. It's something you can do with everybody, especially with the way, online gaming works right now. You could connect with somebody, in 2 seconds. So a statistic I had here says that, 51% of people with disabilities are more likely to be socially isolated than people without disabilities. And, that's kind of something that's I've dealt with in the past couple of years of, I was kind of really depressed and just having a hard time. And I started playing games with my brothers every night online, and they live like 3 hours. One brother lives in North Georgia, one brother lives in Alabama. So we started playing together, and it kind of helped with that. So this is something that really can help with the isolated feeling. And another thing about the inclusivity is there's a lot of competitive gaming out there now where people are, competing in tournaments and they're streaming on like Twitch and Kick and things like that. So adaptive equipment for gaming allows that to be extended, to people with disabilities as well. So definitely really, really good stuff there. The second point I have here is about encouraging social interaction. And like I mentioned, I felt, isolated, was, just having a hard time, and, interacting with other people that way, whether it be friends or family, it really just allows you to kind of develop those social skills a little better, which is an important thing for your quality of life. You don't want to, feel like you're by yourself. So, yeah, that's kind of something I want to talk about there. And then for therapeutic benefits, like I mentioned, social skills is part of that. It's an important skill for anybody, but especially if, you're feeling a little bit different than everybody else. But other parts of that are mental health, like I'd mentioned. I was going through depression, stuff like that. It really kind of helped temper that, where I didn't feel like I was just doing the same thing, going through the motions. It also helps with improving cognition and physical coordination is another thing that I kind of touched on, where it keeps your mind sharp, allows you to keep, the abilities you have and kind of try to maybe extend them a little bit longer while you have them. And then the last point, what types of equipment are available? I have here listed on the slide. This is the Xbox adaptive controller. So it has a bunch of different switches and things because, traditional controllers, you use your hands. I'm still able to use a traditional controller for the most part, but knowing that I have these options available is really cool because everyone's different. We all have different, we all go through different steps at different times. So that's an example of one that's like got different buttons and switches. PlayStation 5 has one that it's kind of similar to that. There's some brands also, Logitech and Hori, that both do these kind of controllers, basically. And then in other options, you have these options where you can adapt keyboards and mice. You can kind of make them a little bit different to fit your needs. And then eye tracking is another one. So if you lose the ability to use your hands, things like that, there's eye tracking software where you can use your eye movements to control the game. And then lastly, there's also voice control software, VoiceBot, for example. So the whole point of this is just that there's a whole bunch of things. Everybody's needs are different. All of our mutations are different. So of course, we're all going to experience things differently. So it's good to know that there's a bunch of different options out there to help us improve that.
I love all of that, Steve. And you're also a member of our Patient Adult Advisory Committee,
Yep.
the PAC. So shameless promotion.
Absolutely.
I know you help run one of the online gaming services for that. Could you just speak for a few seconds on the Discord? Because I know
Absolutely.
there's also discussions on there about how to modify adaptive equipment.
Yeah, absolutely. We have our PAC Discord where we will game together, talk about a bunch of different games we like, but it allows us, like I said, that getting together and playing with other people, it allows us to do that. So if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to me at any point. I'd be more than happy if you see me after, want to talk about it. We can get you hooked up with the Discord there, and yeah.
I love it. And our Discord is a thriving community, and it's a really good forum for people to come together and talk about
Absolutely.
gaming. I'll also just mention, too, that my brother-in-law is in the industry. He works for the company that did Rock Band, and they are always looking for new innovative ideas to make gaming accessible. And they occasionally look for people to test equipment. So if that's something that some of you might be interested in, reach out to Steve or myself. We may be able to put you in touch with some people that do that. And my brother-in-law did a session for us about 2 years ago, and it's online. It's very interesting. He talks about how a game is built and how the community has really talked about having characters that are wheelchair users. And what they're trying to figure out how to do is modify the visuals of the game so that if you're playing and you're using a chair, you actually see differently than somebody that's standing. And he said the interface is really, really difficult to change that, because he said that's the only thing holding them back is the technology. But just really, really interesting stuff, and it's all over their radar, and they see it. They're working on it. So cool stuff in the gaming world.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, next slide, please. Megan.
Pat, I have a feeling that physical therapy is going to be a hard sell after video games.
But no, yeah, it's adaptive. We've talked extensively about ways to make physical therapy fun. And I
Yes.
think as you are a younger individual with Duchenne and Becker, physical therapy may be something that you want to run away from. And Megan's here expertly this morning to tell us about you don't have to run away from PT.
Yes,
Please.
you do not have to run away from PT. I think, so I'm going to talk about a couple of more fun things so we can get out of the stodgy gym and kind of get into a more fun environment. So specifically, 2 different types of physical therapy, so aquatic therapy and hippotherapy, which could be equine therapy, are 2 fun ways to get in mobility. So the goal here is to get activity and to get more movement than we could do on land. So for aquatic therapy, it's lovely because you're able to, because of the buoyancy of the water, you're able to move your body in different ways. If certain muscle groups are weak, the opposing muscle groups tend to get a bit tight. If you're unable to move arms against gravity, then you may get some tightness under your arms. In the water, however, you'll be able to move through that full range. So you can get some of that activity that you're not typically getting on land in that supported aquatic environment. It gives you more freedom. It can help for boys who have, or young men who have just come off their feet and walking around their home is a little bit unsafe and is scary. Walking in the water is a great way and a great activity to do. There are some considerations, however, that I want to bring up. So if you are an individual with more advanced cardiac fibrosis or you're having some cardiac issues, always get clearance from your cardiologist. The hydrostatic pressure from the water as you go into it can really push a lot of the fluid up to your heart. So we want to make sure your heart is able to manage that before getting in the water. But otherwise, it's a great activity. You can do quick aquatic therapy sessions and meet with a therapist that gives you a home exercise program that you can go off and swim on your own as well. So that's one option. Another option is hippotherapy. So this is riding horses. It's nice because this does require a little bit more trunk support or trunk control than aquatic therapy. But you are able to, as you balance on the horse and move with the body, move with the horse's steps, you can activate all of these small muscles in your hips, your thighs, and in your core that you're not typically activating as in just general walking around. And it does able to be covered by insurance if you see an actual, like a physical therapist or an occupational therapist who is managing the hippotherapy session, which is nice. I do say we want to make sure as a consideration that we are going to someplace reputable and nice, so and therapy driven. I wouldn't just throw your child on any old horse and call it equine therapy, but go to some place where we know we have good stability. We don't want any falls or anything like that. So that those are considerations from the standpoint of of your therapist that you're working with. So yeah, that was pretty fast, but
No, I think it was great. I have a question too that I think is always on a lot of people's minds.
yeah.
Just in the general world of physical therapy, aquatic therapy, the normal, or as we like to call you ableds, when you go to physical therapy, you may be recovering from a sports injury, something like that. It's easily covered by insurance because there is a period of recovery and then you're discharged. Mm-hmm. When you have a chronic illness, that never happens. And although all the insurance guidelines in this country are written so wonderfully well that nothing ever gets denied, sometimes
Isn't it lovely?
We living with muscular dystrophy get denied. And personally, I've done aquatic therapy. They'll give me 8 or 12 weeks and then they'll kick me off because they'll say, you're not making any improvements. So I need to start the argument of if I'm maintaining anything, that is improvement for muscular dystrophy. Do you have any, and this is a hard question, any magic fairy dust about how things like this can be covered for more than a couple of months? Because it doesn't do us any good to stop, start, but that's, in my experience, that's how I've found that we have to do it.
So I don't have any unicorn fairy dust, unfortunately, but I will say that it does differ from payer to payer. And I think it depends on your specific team as well and how rabid they're willing to be for you.
Okay.
And also, the nice thing about aquatic therapy is that a lot of times you can get, so you can go through a stint of your 12-week period. You can then be left with a home exercise program from your physical therapist, and whether it's like once or twice a year, you get these. You're allowed this amount of physical therapy, then you can take that home and have a disability waiver and be able to use a heated pool in your area or a therapy pool in your area. I've worked with a lot of YMCAs where they allow access and allow specific, some YMCAs don't allow, specific things like water weights or floaties and things like that, but I've been able to get that waived, and additionally been able to work with individual YMCAs to get almost free access to pools for kids. So it just kind of depends on your care team and your own advocacy for yourself.
So here's what I just heard from our expert panel up here. Megan is going to write the order for the very deep swimming pool that Randy will then build in your house. It'll be 15 to 20 feet, and then Karla will come over with the scuba gear. You can scuba dive in the pool, and while you are scuba diving in the deep pool that Megan wrote, and it will be heated, Randy, then Steve will come over and we will use our masks and play underwater video games.
That's right.
While we are in the pool. How about a hand for our panel? All right, we don't have a ton of time, 3:55. This ticker is it's like standing in front of the microwave waiting for the popcorn. I'm like, you want it to go to 0, but at the same time, you kind of don't. This is where our resources live. This is as easy as I could make it for you, because again, I know our website is dense. So if you forget 95% of what you just heard, email one of us. We're happy to send you the links. And as Karla mentioned, we're always updating things because things break, right? Links break, and we're always adding new resources, thanks to Brian Denger, who's in the room here somewhere. It's a Herculean task, but we try to keep it up to date. These are all of our email addresses, so you take a picture of that if you would like. We do have a couple minutes. I see some people at the microphones. Love to hear your ideas. Yes.
I just wanted to make a plug for...
Wait, please tell us your name and where you're from.
Oh, okay. Susan Parzamiso from Buffalo. Go Bills.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make a plug for sled hockey. My son Tommy plays for the Buffalo Sabres sled hockey program, and we've been doing it for years, and it's great. My husband is a pusher for him, so the boys don't have to actually use their strength just to move up and down the ice.
Wait, did you just call your husband a pusher? In my generation, that had a different meaning, but okay.
It had different meanings. But I know, just from experience, we play in a Canadian league, so it's very popular in Canada, but many of the NHL teams also sponsor a sled hockey team. I know Vegas has one. I think Nashville may have one.
Awesome.
The Northeast, New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, have them with their NHL teams, but a lot of New York, Pennsylvania, and Ohio especially have smaller teams also not affiliated with the NHL. So it's been a wonderful way for Tommy to be ridiculously competitive with his sports. Also in the Buffalo area, Tommy's been able to try wheelchair cornhole, which was amazingly successful, wheelchair curling, and there are a lot of adaptive and wheelchair sports out there. Many of them are not great for the Duchenne community, like wheelchair football is really bad, but they're... No, they do full-on tackling, and a lot of them, they have to push themselves, so it makes it too difficult because you can't have a pusher for wheelchair basketball. But there have been a lot of sports out there that we've had some success with, and Tommy's really been able to enjoy being that sports kid and getting that competitive spirit out.
I love all of that, thank you. And I think, too, tap into a lot of the Veterans Affairs websites in the country, because a lot of those guys are doing amazing things, too. Over to this mic, and we have a minute, so speak quick.
Very fast. My name is Amy Brown. I live in Belmont, Massachusetts. My son, Brian, is 17, and two years ago in 2022, Boston created the Boston Whiplash Volt Hockey team. Volt Hockey is indoor floor hockey played on a gym floor in specialized wheelchairs that are made in Denmark. And it has a little plastic blade on the floor in front, and you hit a little ball that's kind of like a wiffle ball or pickleball. There are three players on each team. It is a joystick-controlled chair, so if you have limited upper body strength, you can play Volt Hockey. There are only 2 teams in the United States right now. I think there are about 9 in Canada. So please, and they're all over Scandinavia. So please look us up. It's Volt Hockey USA. We created like the NHL, but it's volthockeyusa.org. And my name is Amy, and I'm here for any questions, and reach out, please.
And we'll be hearing about that team because since they're from Boston, they're going to win a championship soon.
Yes. Well, we did go to the World Cup in Sweden twice. And we placed there. And so
you're Belmont, I'm Salem, New Hampshire, so we're going to do lunch before the end of the summer.
Absolutely, and we're going to talk about that hotel in Boston.
I'm on that, okay. All right, Adele, you got to go super fast.
Yeah, okay. Just a couple of comments on the adaptive sports. It's great that there are sports out there for kids in wheelchair, but what about our ambulatory boys?
Yeah.
I have had very great success going to the regular local. Jason played Little League, but we designed a new position, the designated runner, because when the kids play, play goes to first base. By the time Jason trots out for first base, the ball's been there for 20 minutes. So we've developed the designated runner. One of his teammates would stand ready, Jason would hit the ball, and his teammate would run.
Love it.
Whatever base the teammate got to, then Jason would go out there and trot out and take his base. Jason was on his own for the rest of the game. He walked in a lot of home runs.
That's awesome.
So go to your neighborhood sports thing, talk to the people who organize it, brainstorm and come up with ways to make your kid more inclusive in those sports. And going with the quick one, home remodeling, I work with the premise, keep it simple, stupid. a nice big square 8x8 room for the bathroom with very little obstructions works the best, from when your kid is ambulatory to the point where he's 40, 50 years
Needing
old.
more help, sure, yeah. I don't see anyone in the back giving me a giant hairy eyeball. Do I need to, Rachel, am I getting a cane? Okay, wrap it up. I'm sorry. We're up here, and we can also continue this online. We could start any sort of a forum discussion, something like that. Reach out to me or anyone on the panel, we can get that going. But I do want to just quickly mention for the people that are just coming in, on the tables, the red folders are the PPMD annual report. Those are for you. Take them, enjoy. And also, I've just been told to tell you that there are postcards floating around that if you register as a family within the next week for next year's conference, it's 30% off the registration for families. So we're going to move to a live polling, but I just want to one more time, a round of applause for our panel. Thank you so much. This was excellent. Excellent information. So I think you guys are dismissed. All right, thank you. All right, we got to keep on track here on schedule. So I'm up here for the polling. What do you think? Pollev.com/PPMD. If you won the lottery today, what would you invest in? Kind of a fun question, but also has meaning for our community, right? Steve, please don't go down the ramp backwards. You're killing me. All right. Okay, everybody, while you're polling, let's watch Steve and make sure the hotel's insurance is up to date. I know, I'm not worried. You know, you do this. All right, we got accessible home remodel. Okay, Randy Sapp, you got some business coming in. No one's buying a luxury car, huh? Oh, somebody is. I bet the luxury car answer is from a Duchenne or Becker individual, because they're like, forget all this, I just want to go for a ride. Not wrong. Once in a lifetime vacation for my family, that's pretty cool. Accessible home remodel is definitely leading the pack right now. This live polling thing is fun. I kind of sound like an auctioneer. Hey, you guys, A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. Home remodeling, 52%. Of course, we have to define a luxury car, right? For those of us just getting out of college, a luxury car is anything that runs. Accessible home remodel. All right, next question. For family members, on a scale of 1 to 5, how well do you feel you understand the process and pathways of participating in clinical trials? Wow. This one, please, as with all these, be 100% honest. It's funny, you don't really think about the fact that when you're on this Duchenne-Becker manifesting carrier journey, you didn't realize that you were going to become scientists, did you? Yeah, you're scientists, you're physicians. As I've been saying all weekend, you're engineers, you solve problems creatively all the time, right? But now you have to not only understand this, but you have to explain it to Aunt Sally, who just wants to help your family. And you're like, well, there's a clinical trial. What does that mean? So then you have to educate them. I can't see on this screen the bottom number 5. I completely understand. Yeah, it's a little bit cut off. I kind of understand. Okay, thank you. All right. So most people say I know a little bit about it, clinical trials. So for the people planning in this room, maybe we need to do a little bit of a session on just understanding how that works. Rachel, webinar? Rachel's ignoring me. She doesn't even know I'm talking about her. She's at the front table right here having a conversation with Megan Freed. They have no idea. This is like when you're at a sporting event, right? And they put the camera on the guy that's on his phone, and everybody's screaming and yelling, and they're on the big screen. The person has no clue. They still don't have any idea. Do you have a Duchenne registry account? If you do not have a Duchenne registry account, Ann Martin is going to come and hit you on the head with a tack hammer. If you have not met Ann yet, she's lovely, and she's all about the Duchenne registry, so you have to make sure you have a registry account. I'm joking, but I'm not. It's important to share data and to gather more information. Megan, Rachel? Oh, yay! No, it's all good. I just said that, you know how in a sporting event, sometimes they put the camera on people that have no idea? Yeah, I've been talking about you since the last poll. Because I think, no, we need a session on better understanding clinical trials. So I was like, hey, let's do a webinar. But you guys were like, and the coffee at Starbucks? I'm just kidding. I appreciate you. Which Pixar character said, assume positive intent? I mean, our fate lives within us. You only have to be brave enough to see it. So, I have 2 boys, they're 10 and 8. So I know a couple of these characters, but not all. I guess we're all in agreement that this is the first one. Is this the last polling question? Oh, that saddens me. Can I be like the official pollster? Rachel's like, you're done. You're so done after this. I'm gonna get remember the Gong Show? Anybody old enough to remember the Gong Show? That's what we need up here, right? Where the chairs aren't, we get a big gong, and when someone's like over, the Dudley people, you just come up and gong us. Yeah, we're done. I have had a pleasure interacting with you this morning. Again, we have a robust program for you today. Make sure you are interacting and communicating with as many people as you can. And as you know, sometimes the best conversations for you may happen out in the hallway, so have them as well. Take a break, especially if you're new to the conference. This is an awful lot of stuff. You're not alone on the journey. We're all here to help. And we are going to be here as long as the disease is here. So please do not feel like this is the end of the conversation when you go home tomorrow. Reach out, let us know how we can help you. Thank you very much. And next up is the Price is Right segment.
PPMD Pearl.
PPMD Pearl, run by
Itself.
Jerry Lewis. No. Run by itself. Everyone have a great day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.